Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Preds Power here on the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. We're just a few minutes removed from the Nashville Predators coming out with a 3-2 overtime thriller win over the Pittsburgh Penguins, one of my favorite games of the year, and very, very glad to see all that happen live, and my wife look over at me like, what just happened, as I am over there watching and see Filip Forsberg with a big-time goal to wrap things up, and an angry Pittsburgh Penguins coach as he leaves the bench and heads into the locker room to talk all about that and much more Preds hockey. Bryan Bastin of ontheforecheck.com. Bryan, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good. And actually, I'm seeing online right now that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of women who just suddenly turned pregnant after that overtime goal by Filip Forsberg. So, you know, the man's put up what now? That's 12 goals, 27 points in 21 games. So we in this house, we respect and love Filip Forsberg.
We respect Filip Forsberg in this house and on this podcast. Someone who also very much respects Filip Forsberg and the offensive firepower. Many are saying some of the best offensive firepower in the National Hockey League. It's Mr. Jeff Middleton of Flames Nation on the Forecheck, Renegades of Puck, the Nashville soccer team, Miami play-by-play, the hockey news, like all over the place. If it's something about hockey or something about Nashville, the man or Miami, the man's probably writing about it. There you go, Jeff Middleton. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, you're right, Chase. That was an intense game between two teams that looked pretty evenly matched, and it ended just as you might expect one of those games to end. So yeah, it was entertaining for sure. And yeah, I mean, Filip Forsberg, boy, he's pretty good, eh?
Yeah, he's pretty good. And also, Bryan, we're the two happy ones. Jeff's the grumpy one over here in the group chat. Just like it's two average teams battling it out.
Yeah, I'm just like it was.
He's gone through a lot. He's
clearly 500 level. I'm not saying either of those two. I think that neither of those two teams are playing Stanley Cup caliber hockey right now.
And I don't think you're taking into consideration that Luke Schenn's continued existence is really just putting a damper on Jeff's style.
That's also fair.
He's making the penalty kill better, apparently.
I mean, look.
Yeah, that's happening.
There's a lot to talk about, and the Preds have now won 6 straight. The Preds, as of this recording, are over 500, over the 500 mark, a little over 20 games in the NHL season. Bryan, what do you make of this win streak, and what's the biggest thing you've learned from Nashville over the last 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, I think that what we saw from the beginning of the year, I think their opening stretch, I think they went 5-10, and now they've gone 6-0-0. Which is crazy, but there were signs of it. Again, like this team has a lot to fix. This is still, I don't think by any means a conference finals type team, and I'm going to keep saying things like that, hoping they prove me wrong. But we saw all the effort. We've seen what Andrew Burnett has done to the offense with the focus on creating those shots. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly, whether or not he knows it, I think he is the new analytics king, because he's just big man get to net, and it's resulted in him being, I think, in the top 2% of all forwards and goals above replacement this year. And the Preds were creating chances all over the place. They just weren't converting. And logic says that everything regresses back to the mean. And sure enough, now they're shooting the lights out. Scoring 4 or 5 goals per game. They're actually withstanding, giving up those 2-goal leads. They did it again tonight, and it took them 61 minutes almost to fix that, but they did that. I mean, but again, I mean, I'll also say that I don't think Pittsburgh deserved to win this game when you have Mike McCarron scoring 2 on you, making him look like look like PK Subban out there shooting those goals. It was something to behold, and I was really hoping he'd get that one last step into getting that the Gordie Howe hat trick, but alas, we had to settle for a Filip Forsberg goal.
I'll take it though. It was fun.
Of course.
I will absolutely take it. What did you make of that fight? Like, did you see it coming? Did you have that same expectation going into overtime? And should that have been called? And did Sullivan have a point here, Bryan Bastin?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you look at it, I don't think that I watched it a couple times and I was a little bit more focused on seeing if O'Reilly stayed onside, which miraculously he did, even though him and Crosby like just flew into each other at full speed. It looked like when you watch Pee Wee hockey and kids just, they finally get up to, 2-3 miles an hour and they just collide at full speed. And that's what it looked like. And I mean, I wouldn't, if you wanted to call an interference on O'Reilly on that one, you'd also have to call one on Crosby. And it was just kind of a bad play. It was unlucky. And I think, the other 22 guys on the roster for Nashville would have, taken that puck, circled it back, waited for O'Reilly to get up. But you know how Filip Forsberg does. He says, I'll take care of this by myself. And as soon as I saw him streak past the big pile up, I knew it was over. I mean, he went in, tucked it up over the glove. I mean, it was just, I'm gushing about him a lot. And I'm not even talked about the thing that I think has impressed me the most is just how good defensively he's been this season too. I mean, he may not be, Filip Forsberg may not end with the Hart or something like that, or the Rocket Richard. Although he could. I mean, 12 goals. I think the league lead is 15 right now. And he only scored 1 goal in the whole month of October. So, he got a late start. But it's been his defensive play. I mean, if you watching the game, and nerds, we do watch the game every once in a while. I mean, Forsberg is in on literally everything. I think he is, he's throwing a lot more hits. He's winning a lot more puck battles and getting into those puck battles. I mean, this is, and someone like Jeff who's seen Selke, caliber guys, up close and personal a little bit more than me. I mean, I'm not saying that he's a front runner for it, but start putting him in the mix because what he's doing all 200 feet of the ice is just insane. And the fact that he's being rewarded for that by, I don't know, playing like a madman this season. I said myself before the season started, he's going to be good. If he stays healthy, I think he's going to produce, but I don't see him scoring 40 goals. And he took that personally. So.
Yes, he did. Jeff Middleton, your strongest takeaway from the Preds win streak and what happened tonight in this game with the Pens?
I mean, kind of in the same vein as what Bryan said. I think Filip Forsberg's been kind of the driver. I mean, we talked about it, I think a week or two ago when, Forsberg was getting all of the expected goals but was not scoring and he wasn't putting the puck in the net like a lot of people expected he would to start the season. And now the puck is finally going in for him, and he's been fantastic. I think he's on pace for over 100 points, 46 goals, something like that. He's just, this is the best Filip Forsberg that we have seen in his career. I honestly believe that. And it's not to say that other Filip Forsbergs in the past haven't been good, but he's just been, he's been that level. And I think in 2021-22 when he scored 40 plus goals, I think he was good in a different way than he has been this year. I think that, what Bryan said about his two-way play, I think it just looks like he's managing the play more than he did that year. And that's, Forsberg's really good at that. And he's really good at a lot of other things when it comes to kind of managing the ice and getting people to open up lanes and stuff like that. But yeah, I think you look at him, he's the biggest difference I've seen this year that you kind of notice what Filip Forsberg's really good at is his shot and his, using his body to protect the puck and all that stuff. But his shot is what makes him really good. And, past seasons, we've seen him kind of, use that to his advantage and in all sorts of different spots. But man, his release this year, I don't know what he did over the offseason, but holy moly, he looks just lethal. Every time the puck comes off his stick, it's with power. It's precise. Like there were a couple times tonight where he wasn't even on balance and he just kind of just ripped it full force. And Jari had to make the save and it was just kind of out of nowhere. But it's been like that all season. And I think there has not been a time during Filip Forsberg's career where his shot has looked as threatening as it does this season. I really think that makes a huge difference, not only at even strength, but on the power play as well. Because Filip Forsberg's so good at also moving the puck. I mean, we saw him on McCarron's second goal and get the puck, and he's immediately a threat when he gets the puck. He's in the far circle, and he looks cross ice and finds Tomasino through a seam. Perfect pass right to the tape. Then Tomasino tries to get it through. Puck, the pass is blocked, and McCarron, McCarron finds the loose puck and miraculously throws it towards the net, goes top shelf, does a somersault, all the works. But that kind of stuff, it might be a product of this Andrew Brunette system. I think there's definitely something to that, but I also think Filip Forsberg's, he's in the prime of his career right now, and he looks really good. And I think that the stat sheet's finally starting to reflect how important he is, not only to this Preds team, but how good what we figured his prime would be.
I'll say this: which one of these players isn't like the others? If you look at guys that Filip Forsberg's played with, Ryan Johansson, Victor Arvidsson, Matt Duchene, Mikael Granlund, and then Ryan O'Reilly. It's not to say, again, like the year that Duchene and Forsberg were, both of them had 40 goals, first two 40-goal scores in franchise history, did it on the same line. That was great. We remember what the Jofa line looked like and how fun that was. But Forsberg's never had that guy, like a power forward type, who's dangerous. He's not just a get in the middle in front of the net and take up space, but a dangerous player. And that, I think that's the best thing, because I've always thought of Filip Forsberg being the reason why he's special, at least, is that he has a really good combination of both power and technique. We saw that in those goals against Colorado back in 2018, 2019 in the playoffs, where he turned Sam Girard into a pretzel, and then a couple nights later just powered past I can't even remember who it was. I mean, but
I remember his name. Let me keep talking, but I'm going to think of it.
Yeah. And, and that's one of the things is, he knows when to use which of those skills. And I think that's, I always joke that Kevin Fiala struggled because he wanted to play a lot like Forsberg, and he had the technique, he had the shot, and he had the speed, but he just never could power the puck past anybody. And that would kind of, made him struggle. But Forsberg, not many guys can do that. And it's crazy to watch him, because I mean, anytime he has the puck, I mean, if he's over on that left side, like on that left circle, just kind of floating, back behind the net and sitting there, and he's got the puck in like a foot of space. I mean, you pretty much can stand up if you're a fan, because it's either going to be a goal or a really, really good chance, because, I don't know why teams keep leaving him alone. Because they just let him drive in, and they're creating magic. It's phenomenal to watch.
I like it. Well, Bryan, you have something you, I think, want to add about Juuse Saros and this win streak.
Duncan Siemens, that's who it is.
Yes, it was Duncan Siemens.
I got it.
Good job. That's crazy. You were 12 when that game happened. So the question has been, what's up with Juuse Saros? Juuse Saros is still sitting towards the bottom of the league in goals saved above expected, depending on which website you look at. And we're all a little worried. This looks like one of his worst starts to a career, and it was a little concerning. He had some games where, even if you're not into the advanced stats, it's games where he just flat out didn't look good. So I always usually like to wait until about 20 game mark or so. In this case, it's now 17 games for Juuse Saros, and look back the last 4 years and how he did in his first 17 games. And folks, he's right up there, right on pace. He's sitting at about now, I think, 2.7 goals saved above expected, even though he had dipped down as low for the season so far, down to about -2.5 goals saved above expected. And he's done that, in 4 straight games now. Colorado finishing above expected, Calgary way above expected, Winnipeg above expected. And then this game, I mean, I posted the shot map, but if I'm Juuse Saros, at some point I'm walking into that locker room after a game and demanding dinner be bought from that defense, because he was getting pummeled. Like, you can't even see the goalie's crease on like a shot map because of all the shots that Pittsburgh took about within 10 feet of Juuse Saros. So he's right on pace with the rest of his career. In fact, the closest that he's actually, the only time that he's had a little bit worse of a start he actually dipped down to as low as -3.5 goals saved above expected. That was last season, and last season was arguably the greatest season that Juuse Saros has ever played. So what I'm seeing is that he's coming back. He's bouncing back. There's still a lot of problems. The penalty kill, goaltending, and penalty kill in general is a massive problem, and I think that there's equal blame to go around between the penalty killing units who just have not really seemed to figure it out, and Juuse Saros, because he was best in the NHL last season on the PK, and now he's, I think, bottom 5. So still has to turn that around. I think he did a good job of that tonight, but I wanted to wait to look at the numbers and to look at the trends until we hit this quarter season mark. And folks, it's better than I thought. In fact, if he continues along this pace, he'll start picking right back up where he left off last season. So I think this this win streak, even though credit to Kevin Lankinen, who has quietly come in, done his job, and won hockey games like it was nothing. But I mean, a lot of this streak goes to Juuse Saros, Kevin Lankinen, Ben Vanderklok, the goaltending coach, because you have to give them time, but they will figure it out. And, these aren't just anybody that they're beating. That game against Colorado, the crazy game against Colorado, Calgary, Jeff knows, I don't know what to think about Calgary. I still have no clue what this is. And I'm sure that
I don't know what to think about Calgary.
And I'm sure Calgary fans would look at Nashville and go, I have no clue what they are like either. Winnipeg, who's quietly becoming everything I thought Minnesota was going to be this season, and in Pittsburgh, they have these bad games, but I don't know. I've said it before. I'll keep saying it. Probably the third or fourth week straight in a row, man. Andrew Brunette. This is really fun hockey, and it's fun for everybody, not just us stats nerds, not just the eye test people. It's great. It's frustrating at times, and it may give you a heart attack, but it's a lot of fun. And just imagine, give it 2 more years in this system, actually some well-developed players, some free agents, stuff like that. This has the makings of a team like he had in Florida. He took over in Florida, they won the President's Trophy. This is a fun team. They figure out special teams, they're going to be even more dangerous.
There you go. Jeff, a friendly face, an old face, has re-entered the division and will re-enter Preds fans' lives a lot over the next several months and maybe years, depending on how things go with this particular coach. Coach Hynes is resurfaced, and John Hynes is now the new Minnesota Wild head coach here. What was your immediate reaction when you saw this news, Jeff? And what's the nicest thing you can say about what this means for the Minnesota Wild the rest of this season?
My immediate reaction was laughter and oh no. And I mean, I think we've been pretty critical of John Hynes on this podcast. I mean, I sure haven't shied away from it. I know that. I think as far as what this means for the Wild, I don't know if you can really get any worse than where they are currently. I mean, you can but it's a low.
I was going to say
really
the Sharks are right there.
I'll say it's a really low bar considering considering the guys on the roster that the Wild have. It's hard to get lower than this. I think that John Hynes is underwhelming if you're a Wild fan. I think that a big problem for the Wild this season specifically has been goaltending. And I think a lot of that, I don't think that can really be helped with the coaching change. I think that the Wild are, built on defensive structure and goaltending. And, John Hynes, admittedly, the defense at times has been solid for the teams he's coached. So I'll give him that. And for a team like the Wild, it might work. I mean, they won tonight against a pretty bad Blues team, but they won tonight nonetheless in his debut. I think they'll have a little bit harder of a test on Thursday against the Preds. But yeah, I think that the Wild need their creative players to shine. One of the guys who has been super underwhelming this year has been Kirill Kaprizov, and frankly, I don't know what John Hynes is planning on doing with him, because we watched it in Nashville and in New Jersey when I went to those god-awful games against the Rangers. Just nothing creative offensively at all.
To be fair, he did produce the only 2 40-goal scorers in Nashville history.
Did he, or did shooting luck? I think I understand that point, but like the fact that, you know, every single one of those guys was shooting over their, you know, average, way over their average, and like
yeah,
they only made the wild card. Like,
I don't think that's like Filip Forsberg is not overshooting his average anymore. I think that is his new average. I think he's just like a 26% shooter now. But no, I get your point, because it's, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm more of a John Hynes defender than most. It was time to get him to go, but I think he came into a crappy situation. I've said that before. But why him? Why now? I can't imagine. I know that there had been some rumors in the offseason that some teams had brought him in, but I mean, the man was 2 days shy of being unemployed for 6 months. I mean, 6 months, he's back in the division. He's in the Central. He's now head coach. But what was the rush? Like, for me, if you're going to fire Dean Evason, again, another former national organization coach, originally drafted right after David Poile was brought on as GM by the Washington Capitals, because Minnesota just can't get enough of the old Nashville retreads. You do this kind of you fire a guy like this, and you send that message because you got a guy in mind. And the couple people I talked to up in Milwaukee said that they were surprised, like I was, that that's the kind of, if you're the really good move that Minnesota could have done with this is that they would have fired Evason and hired Carl Taylor. And what I've heard, they didn't reach out. I mean, that one makes more, that's a kind of a move, and it doesn't have to be Carl Taylor, you know, for example, but like, that's the kind of move where you're wanting a guy who's got a high profile, who's been building a good resume, and you want to bring him back into the league. You want to get somebody before other teams start jumping on him. And I just don't know if the demand for someone like John Hynes was that high, or why Minnesota decided they needed to fire Evason now. I mean, teams can turn around after 20 games. It's, you know, they are looking god awful. They're 6-10-4, but you know, Nashville was 5-10-1 not too long ago. So it happens that way. It's, and also I wanted to mention about the Sharks, and you talking about the Sharks being bad. Did you know that the San Jose Sharks and Toronto Maple Leafs both have the same amount of regulation wins with 5? I just mentioned that because I like being a hater. But anyways, the Sharks, I like them. They're fun. They're bad, but man, they're fun.
Are they fun? Are they fun? Is that the way to describe them, Bryan?
It's fun if you like watching the kids. William Eklund is cool as hell. But I got off topic. I apologize, Jeff. But I mean, I just don't.
No, I agree. I think that, you know,
it's not a bad hire. It could be worse. They could have brought, you know who back in for, you know, a fourth chance again to you know, snatch cell phones from somebody in another city. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think that if you're looking to get a guy like Kirill Kaprizov going, or Marco Rossi going, or Matt Boldy going, I just don't think John Hynes is the guy. And I don't think he's the guy. You know, he wasn't the guy in New Jersey. He wasn't the guy in Nashville. Like, he hasn't been able to really do that. And we saw it, like, the amount of PTSD that I have from watching Jesper Bratt get fourth line minutes, and then the moment John Hynes leaves, he's promoted to the top 6 and starts scoring at incredible rates. I just boggles my mind.
Wasn't he healthy scratching Nico too?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
But I will say this, and I stand by this. And maybe not in the current season now that they're both in the league, but I'd still, if you had to bring one of the two former coaches back, I'd still take Hynes over Laviolette.
Wow. Wow. Considering how the Rangers are doing, that's a take.
Because Peter Laviolette does one thing really well. He comes into a franchise that's
early, and then
they're going to get into they're in the middle of the standings. He's going to stabilize them out. He's going to start building a really good like foundation for them, and then he's going to hit the playoffs every year and refuse to change his game plan. and he might win a few rounds. He might even get to the Stanley Cup, but I mean, he's the only coach I believe that's lost the Stanley Cup final with 3 different teams. So, but I mean, that's what happened the last 2-3 years of his career. Was like you could watch it. Game 1, they would look good. Game 2, they'd still look all right. And then they just wouldn't adapt, and that's the problem. And I think, I mean, all credit to him because the Rangers look great. They look fantastic, and people are hailing Laviolette as the second coming, which is, we've all done that.
I'll say we're all guilty of it.
And maybe this is different, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like the team, I don't know. I just know that we know what Laviolette is. And, it's like back with Phil Fulmer. Like, he got predictable. When he brought Randy Sanders back, everybody knew what the play calls were going to be, and they were going to suck. And opponents knew that, and they took advantage of it. It's the same type of thing with guys like Laviolette. Not so much as Hynes, like Jeff will tell you, because I know Jeff feels this, feels very strongly about this subject, but how he manages the development of young players. Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, it's, there's a lot of guys that still should be on this Nashville Predators team that would be a perfect fit for this rebuild. I mean,
you don't have a guy talking to the Finnish media like he did if John Hynes did a good job. So
yeah, and also Nashville could have, they could have signed Evan Rodriguez, but that's, again, I just want to bring that up after they stole the game from my boy tonight. So
it was a double hit.
It's also, what's funny to me? It's only a hockey thing for some reason. No other sports league does this in America, where they just hire a new long-term answer in the middle of the season. Like, this is a strictly hockey thing that I like. Like, it's got to be extremely hard to just parachute into these situations. All right, you're 20 games into the season. You don't have any familiarity with any of these guys. You're replacing a coach, and you're like, all right, go right the ship in the middle of this year. No training camp, no anything. This is your team now, not your staff. Good luck, because like Quinn Snyder just did that for the Hawks down the stretch last year, and it was like one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Is the Hawks brought him in with Nate McMillan's staff. So it wasn't his coaches, he's on the bench with guys that he's not going to retain going into next year. It was so weird, but this is something so normal in hockey that I've found very fascinating that you don't see in any other American professional sport.
And I mean, that's, again, like, that type of hire is like, because you want to snag an Andrew Brunette, you want to get a Spencer Carberry, you want to grab a Carl Taylor. Like, this is, I mean, the NHL is insanely guilty. And to bring it back to college football, like, the NHL is filled, and I'd say about 29 out of 32 head coaches in the NHL are just different flavors of Kirk Ferentz. And when they get fired, it's just his son or him again. And because that's what it is. And they don't bring in, it's not a, this isn't the like other leagues where, guys make their names in college or in the minor leagues and they bring up innovative new minds. That happens in some places, but not often. So, I mean, I think it's just, hockey values that, okay, we're going to bring in this guy to get everybody kind of buckled in, to settle down, to realize that this season needs to be fixed. He needs a no nonsense, serious guy, and got to get pucks deep and blah. It's I don't know. It's such a different landscape that, you can get an interim coach to come in. I didn't think 20 games in, but, a guy to come in and kind of, because hockey players are pretty, they're stuck in their ways. They have their routines and they have their things that they do. And I'm sure that practices don't change very much at the beginning and they slowly morph their way, but it's just, and devil's advocate, why would John Hynes take this job too? I don't
Do you think he would have got another one?
I mean, I don't know that, but
if he wanted back in, I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Like, how old is John Hynes?
I don't know, probably his 50s. I'm guessing.
Is he only 50s?
Let's find out.
He is only 48.
Damn.
Okay, he could have been a little bit more selective.
I've stared that man in the eyes for like 3 straight years.
I would have never guessed he was 48.
Yeah, it's but I mean, it just doesn't seem like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it kind of does, but I mean, I just kind of associate him more. I would see him wanting to go back up Northeast. I thought, but oh well, I don't know. It's just it's a weird pick. I don't think Evason necessarily deserved to be fired. I think he was being punished for his GM's actions, which very appropriate. They bring John Hynes in, but it's just a weird situation to do that, and that's your answer. But again, it's not an abuser, it's not a racist, so it's a win for hockey.
The bar is quite low.
That's right.
For new coaches. Well, we'll end it here. Jeff, ultimately, does the Hynes hire work out for the Wild? Let's put the clairvoyant hat on. 2 years from now, do we look at this hire and it's like, oh, that was a sneaky good adjustment. They did a great job. Now the Wild are really good and they figured stuff out. Or do you think it's one where it's like, what? This was the wrong course. Which way do you think we go 2 years from now?
2 years from now, I think that the only reason it would work would be if Jesper Wallstedt came in and decided to be phenomenal. So system-wise, no. Goaltending-wise, if Jesper Wallstedt is going to Jesper Wallstedt, which he's really good at doing that, I would say he's going to do it, then yeah, I think it might work. Or it'll at least be good enough to keep him around.
Minnesota's a good team. I think they've just been bad for stretches.
They need a center. They need a first-line center.
No, there's Nylander for you. No, I mean,
Lindholm, baby. He's on the market.
But I think Minnesota's a better team. I think they're a better team than they look like right now. And I could very well see him straighten this out and like get him kind of close to wild card and then have him start pretty well and they give him an extension next year. I'm not saying that he will, finish that extension on a contract, but I think he is coming into a pretty decent situation. There's a lot of talent, I would say. Got a lot of young talent. Again, you got guys like Wallstedt, you got Kaprizov, you've got Marco Rossi, who is just
there are more guys in the pipeline too, which are Yurov and Kuzadinov and all those guys. Like, there's still guys that can come over and make an impact at the NHL level.
Yep, and if you're playing for the Iowa Wild, your favorite thing to do is to just start fights in Milwaukee games, which is always very entertaining. But man, those games get rough. He's coming into a fairly favorable situation. I mean, Colorado looks beatable, or at least just a little bit more mortal. Edmonton, who knows what's going on with them? I mean,
they're bad.
Yeah, they're bad, and
they dug themselves quite the hole here.
Connor McDavid's back though. 11.
But how much ground can they make up?
3 games.
Yeah,
but how much? Him being back, he's been back his entire career. What's that mean?
I understand he wasn't scoring earlier this year. It's been
a
minute since we've seen some 11 points in 3 games type stuff from McDavid.
Yeah, he'll do it. He'll do it 12 more times this season.
Yeah,
it's whatever. And then he'll watch the second round at Beyond from his couch like he always does, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's Edmonton's fault.
Yeah,
it's going to be some fun trade potential.
That's why I say in hockey, this lesson needs to be learned by players more than anybody else, is to get that cash. You will not be rewarded for loyalty to a team because that team will not be loyal to you, and they will dump you as fast as they can without remorse. If you are a hockey player, you are a free agent, go get your money, because this league does not care about your safety, your retirement, and your long-term health. So get all the money you can, jump around, make people mad, and just, stack that cash, because they need to do it. And there you go.
I like it.
Philip
Bryan
Forsberg
coming out firing here at the end.
Yeah.
Firing.
Hey, 2 guys the thing right here. Forsberg and Saros.
There you go.
They're back. They are back.
We end it there. Saros and Forsberg are indeed back. The Preds over 500. All good in Preds land right now. And we'll see next week if that continues on with the Preds with a big week of more. Remember this guy? Remember him? That's what this week is. This is the Memberberry week of Preds hockey. Yeah, I'm Imba. Brian Bastin, what can the good folks check out from you and the team on theforecheck.com this week?
So beginning of the month, which is later this week, I'm going to be kicking off a new monthly feature with a very, very special guest who's going to be joining me for kind of a Q&A session every month. So you guys are I think should be pretty excited about that one, because I'm very excited to get their insight on that. I'm also working on a piece about Juuse Saros, which is why I had all those stats kind of so handy conveniently. And then Jeff has begged me to pull together all the good stats I can find so he can celebrate Patrick Kane going to Detroit. So I think that's going to take a long time. But and you're lucky we ran out of time because I wanted to gloat a little bit.
Well, there you go. What about you, Jeff Middleton? I don't even know where to start. Like, we're all over the net. You're doing a lot. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, just more Flame stuff. Trades and stuff. Nikita Zadorov's name's out there, so we'll be looking at that if and when something happens. Jonathan Huberdeau looks better now, thank God. Still not great, but better. Martin Pospisil is the man.
Yep.
Tin Advisor, big kid, loves to score. Connor Zary loves to score. The young guys are making appearances in the Flames right now, and it's awesome. Hoping Dustin Wolf and Matt Coronado can get back up in the roster sometime. But
no, you keep your the best goaltender in your organization. You keep him in the AHL where he belongs.
For Dan Vladar.
Dan Vladar, that's right.
So just stuff on that as the week goes on. Probably the biggest news I have this week, other than like in terms of pieces I'm writing, I'll have a piece on net guards in the NCHC and specifically Miami hockey, coming out both online and in the print newspaper here at Miami. So I'm excited about that.
Look at you, buddy.
I know, right? Yeah. So yeah, that was a fun piece to write. And then just college hockey stuff in general for the hockey news. So it's gonna be a good week. But I have a lot of exams, so that's why it's gonna be bad. Good writing week, but bad school week.
All right. Well, you know where your priorities are, Jeff. Make sure those exams go well.
Get those grades up.
Yeah.
Even though they're already,
that means it's been a year.
Towards the top. So
that means it's been exactly a year since I've graduated grad school. Feels like that doesn't feel that long ago.
Look at you go.
Yeah, definitely just a year since grad school.
Bryan Bastin, Jeff Middleton, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to y'all next week.